Hello, Matt here again from the Brown University Audiovisual Office, here for the fifth and final part of our How to Edit, or Editing 101 as we're calling it on YouTube. And in this, we are going to cover basically how to finish out your project, how to make it into a disk or a movie file to play on your computer, whatever the case may be. So here we go. We're coming off the transitions, part 4, just as you saw. I'm going to shrink down the timeline. So I have everything blocked out just as I want it. I have everything rendered just as I want it. I've reviewed it several times to make sure that I have gone over it and got it everything I want. So the last thing I want to do before I do what's called print to disk, or finish out the project, is save. Saving is one of those things that you just got to do as often as you can remember. Remember that these editors use a large amount of processing power in your computer, and depending on the age or model of your computer, it might freeze up, it might jam up, and it might even close itself. If you haven't saved recently, you're going to lose everything you've done up until that point. So always, always, always save. Adobe Premiere Elements does have an auto save built in. I believe it saves every 20 or 30 minutes. I would actually recommend doing it more than that. I tend to save every time I've conducted an operation that I'm happy with. So as soon as I get, 2 or 3 transitions exactly as I want them, I'll save and then move on down the line. So just remember that. Save often and save always. Okay, so once you have your presentation set up in the preview window, you've watched through it, it looks exactly the way you want it to, you are now ready to finish the project. So as I said, always save before you do this, because this last step seems to be the time when the editor is most likely to kind of jam up and maybe even close out on you. So now we've saved. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come here to our bin area, and we're going to come up to this tab that says Share. Click on Share. You're given several options here. You have web, DVD, disk, and so on and so forth. Really, the only two that I think you would use, you might use other ones, but the two that I use is disk and computer. So let's just go to disk so you can see what happens. So we're going to click disk. It's going to take a second, and this bin window is going to change. So as you can see, you have several different options. You have the DVD option. You have a Blu-ray option. Adobe Premiere Elements does support Blu-rays, and an ACV HD option. Obviously, in order to burn a Blu-ray, you have to have a Blu-ray burner, which I do not have. So we would be making just a general DVD. So you select DVD. You would then load a disk into your optical drive, a blank disk. Obviously, I recommend DVD minus R's. They tend to be the most compatible with kind of anything that you can throw at them. Once you put the disk in, you'd click this rescan button here. I don't have a disk in, so it's not going to show up. But when you do have a disk in, this little burn icon down here will go from gray to white, like the back icon. So once that turns out, you look down your options. You make sure that you have your burn location, which is the disk drive, in my case the D drive, is selected, the number of copies you want. So if you were going to make more than one copies, what you would do is you could put it up to 2, 3, 4. And then when it finishes, stop that. When it finishes, it will eject that disk, prompt you to put in a new disk. You put it in, and it makes another copy. The status, obviously it says media is not present because I haven't put a disk in my disk drive. The presets, NTSC, which is kind of the American and Japanese standard, Canadian as well. So North America and Japanese, NTSC. PAL, PAL, is basically everywhere else in the world. Since I am doing a widescreen format, as you can see here by the letterboxing on the top and the bottom, I would want a widescreen Dolby DVD. The last part you always want to do is you want to check this box. Fit contents to available space. Your average DVD holds 4.7 gigabytes, which averages out in terms of standard definition to about 2 hours, little extra, of footage. So if you check this box, what it will do is if you actually have slightly longer than the allotted time, so say you have 2.5 hours, it will compress that footage so that it can fit it onto one disc. Also, if you are, say, dealing with in this case, our project is about 3 minutes long, it would actually make sure that it puts the highest quality video on there so that it takes up the most room on the disk and looks the best. So always just make sure that that box is checked. So that's how you would conduct a disk. Once you click this burn item, you would be prompted with a loading screen here. They will then render, transcode, encode, and then burn. So it's actually 4 processes. a good kind of rule to follow here is the burn process takes about twice as long as the presentation. So in the case of my 3-minute project, it would probably take me less than 10 minutes. But in the case of your 2-hour movie, it's going to take you 4 hours, maybe even more. So burning is a long process any way you cut it. So remember, if you're going to burn the disc 2 minutes before your class starts, you're not going to make it. Always do it ahead of time. Also remember, in this process, a high likelihood of maybe a jam up or even a system not responding, in which case you're going to have to go through the entire process again, which really stinks, but it happens from time to time. But for my purposes, I'm going to be uploading this onto YouTube. So we are actually going to make a video file that I can then save onto my computer. So we're going to go back, and I'm going to choose computer. Export files for viewing on computers, which is exactly what I want to do. Once you do this, you're prompted to look up in this area up here in your bin, and you will see that you have a whole variety of export options. I'm just going to point you out the ones that I feel are the best used. So, MPEG is obviously a very popular version of a very popular format for video. ACVHD, these are our high definition. Anytime you're shooting in high definition, you can see down here we even have a 1080. AVI. AVI.avi format is probably the most universally acceptable file format. So if you're doubting what type of format you should put it in, I would recommend putting it in AVI format. It can be used again in Adobe. You could actually export this video and bring it back in and edit it as a whole. You can transfer it to Max. Max will read AVI. It's just a very universally acceptable file format. So when in doubt, use AVI. The last one, or actually the last two, QuickTime. Obviously, if you know you're going to be doing something either with a QuickTime player or on a Mac computer, export it as QuickTime. And then the last one is this Windows Media. This Windows Media has a very specific purpose. Obviously, if you're going to be playing in a type of a Windows-based program, i.e. PowerPoint, if you are going to embed a video in PowerPoint, export it in Windows Media and it will work seamlessly in PowerPoint. Other file formats might work. Windows Media will work every time. So that would be my recommendation. But for my purposes, since we shot in HD, I'm going to export in ACV HD. So I've selected the type I want. I look at my presets. This H264 is a file format. There's my resolution, so I can get all the way up to 1080i. I will then give it a file name. And if you recall, we were PTT or PPT, ADV, shortcut for PowerPoint Advancer, and then save in. So in this case, it's going to save it into my documents. I don't want to save it there. I want to save it under, let's see here, onto my desktop. Close these down. There we are, AV stuff, camera and edit, and then PPT tutorial. That's where I'm going to save it to. Click OK. Double check that I've saved it in that place. You can click advanced. And what this is going to do is you can change your presets if you wanted to. Say, in this case, I have 1080i at 25 frames per second. Say I want to do 30 or 24. If you have a very specific setting that you want, this is where you do it. I obviously want to export both audio and video. It gives you a quick summary of what it's outputting as. Tells you kind of what all your frame rate and that kind of stuff is, and then you have your audio settings and your video settings, and you can go from there. And then you have an estimated file size. This is a good idea to understand where it's going to be. So as you can see, this HD file is almost a gig, and it's only 3 minutes long. So remember that. When you're editing high-definition footage, we're talking mucho file consumption there, or excuse me, hard drive consumption. So just something to remember. So now that I have all my settings, before you click save, you just want to double-check everything. ACV HD, my file name is right, my save-in's right, got all my footage set up right. Okay, and we're good. So we're going to click save. So now you can see it's going to render the media, and then it's going to transcode the media, and it will export it. It gives you an estimated time. This estimated time is just that. It's an estimate. So it says it's going to take about 9 minutes or so. I think it's probably going to take a little bit less, but I'm not going to make you sit through this entire 9-minute rendering process and watch this little blue bar increase. I'm just going to pause the action right here, and we'll come back when it's finished. So I'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back. As you can see, through the magic of editing, we now have like about 6 or 7 seconds left on the rendering scale. So we'll just let it go and see how it works out. This last 1% always takes a little while, so kind of don't freak out if it locks up here for a minute. So once that's done, if you notice it says save completed, video has been successfully saved, and you can click done. It then brings you back to your original point. At this point, do not close your project yet. What you want to do is leave your project open but minimize it, and then go find your clip. So in my case, it was under AV stuff. We were under camera and edit, PPT tutorial, and then if we look, let's see, where are we? ACV HD video, this one right here. So then we double click on it, and we always want to preview it. Make sure that it looks just how we wanted it to look. So it's going to take a minute to open because it's a high def video, and then it's going to play. So obviously, again, I'm not going to make you sit through it. If you do want to watch this video, you can go on our YouTube page because I'm going to post it there shortly, and then you will be able to view this video. So always watch through your video, make sure that all your transitions and everything worked out, and then you can either put it on a thumb drive, give it to somebody, you can embed it in a PowerPoint, do whatever you needed to. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you now have a better understanding of how to edit. Again, if you have any questions in relation to editing or any type of audiovisual question, you can always call us at extension 6128, or you can stop by. We're located in the Unistructure in room 277. So, well, I hope this was helpful, and you'll probably see me for more of these. Take it easy. Bye.